Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and to another Fortnite tips and tricks video. This video is going to be all about how to win every game of Fortnite Zero Builds Duos during the Fortnitemares update. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So in this particular gameplay, me and my duo decided to drop at one of the newer locations, Freaky Fields. And now, neither of us really know this location well, but that's okay, because you should actually be landing at locations you're unfamiliar with the game, because the more map knowledge you have, the better player that you are going to be. You never know when the storm is going to pull to a certain location during one of your games, and if you are completely unfamiliar with that spot, well, you're going to have a more rough time winning against opponents who do know that location very well. Plus, knowing where the chest spawns are at a location can be a great help, especially when the storm is at your back and you don't have much time to really be wasting looking for things, especially if you've depleted your mobility items or your heals or any of your utility items that you may have and you're looking for a refresh. And now this should go without saying, but always, especially off spawn, you want to try to make sure that you find a weapon as quickly as possible, and also you want to try to make sure that you get shielded up as quick as possible. Then now right here you see how my teammate ended up getting to a fight. I was close enough by so I could have backed him up, and what I immediately do, I immediately started going his way in order to help him, but he did not need any help in this case. Also, when playing duos, items such as Chug Splash or Flowberry Fizz are great, as you could use it to also heal yourself and your teammate. Plus, Flowberry Fizz, like as I said earlier, is great mobility. As you just see here, as I had Flowberry Fizz kicking, I was able to get close to this player quickly, and as he was healing, I knew he wasn't at full health, and I got a couple free shots at him, and then was able to quickly take a right corner peek outside this house and easily eliminate him. And I was now rewarded with Gwenpool's dual SMGs, as this player had already bought them from her. Bonus. Next, because I have visual audio on, I have cues that there's another player around this house. I assume they're out back, so I quickly ran around and a nice little jump to break their field of vision and camera view and just quickly eliminated them. And next, there's another player over here, so I quickly jump up on top of this little shed, jump down with my shotgun, and just lay into him. And that's another quick and easy elimination. Now here at this point, we know there's another player around, as I did have more visual audio cues of footprints, and my teammate mentions that he can't hear me. And whoops, that's my bad, I was muted. So whenever you're playing with somebody, whether it's duos, trios, or squads, always make sure that you're in communication with each other, and also make sure that you're not muted and that you can hear each other. And now here, I'm using shockwaves in order to break up into the top of this house, because even though you have the visual audio on sometimes, it can be hard to tell where an opponent may be. I was assuming they were upstairs in the roof somewhere, in the attic, and that just simply wasn't the case. They must have just been running around outside the house, I'm assuming. And now here comes the next tip here. Always make sure you're using weapons at the proper range. So I'm using these dual Uzis on top of this house at long range. Granted, I didn't have anything else to shoot at the enemy with, but this weapon is really nasty close range and is not good long range at all. So do make sure that you're using your weapons at the appropriate distances. Because if not, all you're really doing is wasting ammo, and also you're going to not be doing a lot of damage, as it's just going to have a lot of damage drop off and you're going to be missing a lot of shots. Now, next we see somebody started trying to fight Billy, who's one of the mini bosses on the map right now. And that goes to the next tip here, is whenever there's a boss in the area, always make sure you've cleared the area of enemies before trying to fight them, because otherwise you're just opening yourself up to be third-partied. Now you may notice how I was just throwing one of the newer items that's been added, a saw-themed weapon called Little Boom Billies. Now it's basically just a little doll and a tricycle, and when it flies near an enemy, it blows up. Whenever I find these, I just waste them, because I'd rather throw them and then have them blow up on an enemy, or just blow up eventually and do nothing, than have an enemy use them against me. Next, me and my teammate ended up heading towards some shooting we seen off in the distance. Shooting was going on for quite a while, and as you can tell by these players' movements, they were likely bots. So whenever you do see shooting off in the distance, you should always be trying to go and third party it to get a jump on them. And remember, if that shooting is going on for a long time, it is likely bots, and you're probably better off just to get them out of the game, as they can sometimes just be a distraction and it can open up the door to you getting third partied later on when you have to fight them and another player ends up rolling up on you. This seems to be even more of an issue later on in the game when the storm circle is a hell of a lot smaller. Now, next tip is going to be that you should always be fighting with your teammates when you are playing duos, trios, or squads, or your teammates should always at least be not too far behind. So in this clip here, you're going to see how I started rolling up on some players and I could tell they have at least one of the medallions. So I started crouch walking so they wouldn't see where I was located. And this player seemed quite clueless, so he just jumped down and shot him and got the jump on him. And now his partner shows up, and now notice how I keep focusing the original player that I was shooting on. The reason for this is because I wanted to knock him because I knew that this other player was likely going to take me out. And if two players were still up, it's possible that my teammate would have went for the one with more health, and then the one that I had weakened might just get the jump on him. So it made much more sense to turn this fight into a 1v1 instead of having it be a 2v1 that my teammate would have to fight both of them. So now, as soon as my teammate gets me up, I notice that we just started getting shot at, so now I'm using Flowberry Fizz for mobility, and I don't have much choice here, so I just pull out the chainsaw and I rush this one player here and quickly take him out, then I get taken out by their teammate, and my teammate just quickly finishes their teammate. Bam. Another fight where we have now just won because we are sticking together and fighting together. Now, while my teammate is getting me up, I notice that I get marked. So that means either it's somebody with Emma Frost medallion or it is somebody who's hired a scout NPC. So now I'm weak. I quickly use the Flowberry Fizz, which saves me as this person is using the Shearing Panther Claws, because this gives me the ability to jump up high in the air, and then bam, I'm able to get the jump on them and quickly take them out with my chainsaw. And then I finish off the other NPCs, and now finally, I have a chance to actually heal up and reload all my weapons. And loot. And that brings me to my next tip here, and that is to always be keeping an eye out on what loot is dropping whenever you are fighting or just traveling the map or taking out enemies. So you're gonna notice here I run back down into the storm because I remember seeing that one of the enemies had dropped a legendary shotgun and it happened to be Mysterio's mythic shotgun. And since there was a lot of healing items around, my health wasn't really that important here because I could easily just heal up to full health again. Anyways, so it's not going to affect me, so I might as well take a couple seconds and go grab the better weapons, because better weapons do more damage, and having better loot and weapons than your opponent is going to increase your chances in winning the game. And now that's going to bring me onto my next tip here, talking about loadouts. So in zero builds especially, you're always going to be wanting carrying some kind of mobility. And now even if you have a really good loadout, that doesn't mean that you cannot find something better. So you see here, I stopped to search this chest because I needed more heals and I ended up getting rewarded with a medkit. And I also found a legendary striker AR. And I ended up picking that up and dropping the mythic Emma Frost's burst AR as I prefer the fully automatic striker over the burst one. So just because a weapon is mythic doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best. Sometimes a weapon that is one rarity lower that you are better at using or more comfortable using is going to be the better option. And now, you may have noticed that during this Fortnitemares update, they seem to add a pink fog or a pink haze around certain areas of the map. And now this makes it much more difficult to see enemies at farther distances than it did before. So this made the thermal scope kind of get a little bit of a buff in my opinion, as you could use it to end up spotting enemies from way more farther away than you could without one. So maybe consider starting to opt in to use that scope more often on your weapons, as it can give you a little bit of an advantage in being able to spot enemies earlier than you could before without it. Now, whenever possible, you should also be trying to go for objectives such as getting the forecast towers or capturing the flag on island, as more of the proactive players are probably going to be, or better players are going to probably be going for these things as well, so you can get them out of the game sooner. Also, when island spawns in, it also always has a modification bench on it. Plus, it always drops pretty damn good loot. As you see here, I was able to upgrade from a chainsaw to the witch's broom, which is just a much better mobility option in my opinion. So now here you see I crouch and I actually get surprised that I turned invisible because I forgot that I ended up picking up Mysterio's medallion off a eliminated player. So whenever you defeat an enemy, if they have a medallion, you should probably try to pick that thing up right away, as it's going to show on the map right where you eliminated that player, and players will know exactly where you are. At least when you pick it up, they'll then have a yellow ring, and your location is not exactly shown. And now, I'm not even a fan of that medallion, but my teammate said that he actually did like that one, so I dropped it for him because I figured it's better that each of us have one medallion instead of me just giving away my location even more on the map to a medallion I'm not really fond of and not really going to use anyway. Now here, two players try to get the jump on us, and as you see here, I used just a basic jump just to get a juke on this player and dodge their chainsaw attacks. So in order to counter the chainsaw, you really do need to be just aware and try jumping, or you can use Flowberry Fizz, or if you have dashes from the underworld, those are really great too. And now my teammate got knocked by that other player's partner, and you may notice how I started beaming him with the dual SMGs. And as soon as I was out of ammo, I immediately switched to my AR because switching weapons is always faster than reloading. Had I tried to reload or maybe switch to my shotgun, I wasn't sure if my shotgun still had any ammo in it. I may have possibly lost that fight. So always swap to a weapon you know is loaded in a fight whenever possible, instead of risking trying to reload or swapping to a weapon that you've already used, which may or may not have enough ammo to actually finish that fight. Next, you should always be making sure that you reload all of your weapons after each fight and healing up, as well as keeping a conscious eye on the storm and how quickly it's moving and being prepared to rotate. Now, this is also where having mobility comes into play, as if you have an item such as the Witch's Broom, which is permanent mobility, it's going to make your rotates much more easier and quicker, and you're going to have less time being caught in storm and losing health. You should also be aware of how many players are remaining in the match. So, like you see here at this part, we did see this one player running here. I did try to take a few shots at them, since at this point in time there's only 9 enemies remaining. So damaging any player possible is going to be a good idea at this point. And again, with that Witch's Broom, you see here I use it here just to rotate and get behind this player quickly, and bam, easily take them out with my shotgun. And then I immediately go to thirst them and finish up the kill right after, because at this point in the game, you don't want your enemies to be reviving their teammates whenever possible, but also you need to know when to thirst them and when not to. So sometimes it's not a good idea to, but whenever possible, definitely just get them out of the game at this point. And now you may have noticed how I knew exactly where those players were in those last clips, because I had the Emma Frost medallion. You get the same effect with a Scout Specialist NPC, so having this is going to be a great advantage, as you're just going to know exactly where you should be getting ready to position your crosshair before engaging the opponents. You're not going to have to look around for them. So this is also another great thing to have in order to increase your chances of winning more games. So now at this point in the game, there's only 5 players remaining. So that's me and my teammate, plus we know there's another team up on the hill. So we're down at Brawler's Patch right now, and we decide that, hey, you know what, we might want to just stay around Brawler's Patch instead of going towards that hill, because those players would have high ground on us, and at least right here, we do have some cover and some places to hide as we're waiting to see where the storm is going to pull us to next. So unfortunately, at this part of the game, the storm does not pull in our favor, and we do have to leave Brawler's Patch where we have a lot of good cover. So now this brings me on to my next tip here, is whenever you are rotating, especially in a situation like this, always try to stay near some form of cover. So you notice here I move from rock to like destroyed wall, and I'm constantly looking up to where I knew those enemies were last time I spotted them. And I just keep moving, trying to stay near cover the whole time, trying to get a good angle to try to see where the last two remaining opponents might be. So while using this rock for cover, I end up scouting with my thermal scope and easily find his opponents up on top of the hill, right where they were last time. And now, even though I'm not really going to be able to close off any fights from this range with this weapon, I still decided to shoot at these enemies because I was hoping that I could bait them into leaving their high ground. And now next, my partner decided just to fly on up there by himself, which maybe probably wasn't the best move. So now this forces me to just have to make a move as he gets knocked. So now I use the witch's broom, and unfortunately I cut short and don't land where I was hoping to land. But now the Everfrost went down and shows me exactly where this other enemy is, and he has a wood stake shotgun. Very good shotgun if you hit your shots, but he misses, so I clean that up. And then his teammate accidentally slides down the hill, and close range with dual SMGs, they stand no chance. And that, my friends, is how you win every single game of Fortnite Zero Builds during the Fortnitemares update. Also notice when I knocked that player's partner how I didn't bother focusing but going for the thirst right there because I knew that I only had one other player to eliminate to win the game. But that will be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please drop me a like, a comment, or a subscribe, as I do appreciate it and read every single comment that is left on my channel. And I'll hopefully catch y'all on the next one. Bye for now, and don't forget to have fun gaming.